Shout out to the Smiling Pizza and Michael Warner for coming up with the idea of this video. If you have an idea for a video, let me know in the comments below. I might just give you a shout out. What's up, everybody? Apologize for the mic. It might sound a little weird due to the fact I'm not actually in my current home studio. I'm actually out and about on vacation. So right now I'm producing this video for you guys because you asked for it, and well, here it is. Now in this video, I'm gonna be ranking all 5 of the Spider-Man live action films we've seen so far, not including Civil War, because although he is part of the actual film, it's not an actual Spider-Man movie. And also I realize in another year or so, Spider-Man Homecoming is gonna be coming out, so I'll probably redo this list when that comes out and I see it in the theater. We'll see how Tom Holland's Spider-Man compares to the older ones, but for right now, this is this. So let's get started. Coming in at number 5, we of course have The Amazing Spider-Man 2. This one was just a train wreck. You know, you think that Sony would learn after Spider-Man 3 that, you know, too much isn't a good thing. You know, and I'm not saying that too much is always a bad thing, but when you try to push the next film in a franchise and you forget to even make the film you're currently on good, that's a bad thing. You know what I mean? That's exactly what they wanted to do. They wanted to set up their Sinister Six thing so bad that they completely forgot to make The Amazing Spider-Man 2 good. And, you know, we've seen that type of problem before with Spider-Man 3. Now, of course, I'll get to that when I get to that. But for right now, The Amazing Spider-Man is just so bad because it didn't know what it wanted to be. It had, you know, a good cast. You know, Andrew Garfield did a pretty good job playing Spider-Man. He was funny. Sure, he wasn't as nerdy as you think he would be, but he played a good Spider-Man, and he did what he was supposed to do. You know, they pulled off the Gwen Stacy death, which was sad, you know, because she was one of the best parts about these actual films. And when it comes down to it, they just shoehorned the Rhino and especially the Green Goblin in right there. You know, the Green Goblin should have been saved for the 3rd film if they're going to do that, or, you know, not even had the Rhino in there. Now, apparently Paul Giamatti and Mark Webb, the director of the film, they're apparently good friends, and Paul Giamatti apparently begged to Mark Webb to play the Rhino because he's always wanted to play it. And so Mark Webb's like, oh, okay, sure, you can play it. And so then Paul Giamatti was so happy about that. And it was so terrible. And honestly, there's not even good things you can really say about the film besides the fact that Andrew Garfield, Gwen Stacy, you know, Emma Stone was probably one of the best things about the entire film. So, I mean, the chemistry between those two really worked, but the rest of the film was just god-awful, and that's why it is number 5, and that's why we'll never see an Amazing Spider-Man 3. That is for sure. Now, coming in at number 4, this is probably the most debated out of all the Spider-Man films. Which one is worse, Spider-Man 3 or The Amazing Spider-Man 1? And for me personally, I honestly have to say that probably Spider-Man 3 is probably worse than The Amazing Spider-Man, but for different reasons. The Amazing Spider-Man honestly was too soon of a reboot right after the Sam Raimi franchise, especially when the original Spider-Man films were kind of the ones who kind of started this entire Spider-Man and Marvel and even DC trying to catch up with them. Without these Sam Raimi films, there probably would have never been what we see now in with the MCU and the fantastic stuff they're doing. So like I said, the Spider-Man 3, pretty much the exact same thing I said about the Amazing Spider-Man 2 goes into this. Of course, they're just changing around the characters. Honestly, Topher Grace being Venom, that was just a stupid idea. I don't know why that was cast. I don't know if maybe Sam Raimi was friends with him and that was just a terrible idea. There's plenty of actors out there who really fit the buff, you know, dark Venom, which is Eddie Brock in the actual comics, and they really just didn't, you know, land it for me. Now, of course, when I was a kid, I knew Spider-Man 3 wasn't nearly as good as the second film, but I really just thought that it was, you know, that's just the way things are. So, I mean, at least there's the Amazing Spider-Man 2 now that you can complain about. You know, Spider-Man 3 kind of got swept under the rug. Now that the Amazing Spider-Man 2 is out, so that's a good thing. I mean, like I said, there's not much else to say. You know, one of the best things about the 3rd Spider-Man is the Sandman's CGI in the beginning. I think everyone remarks on that, but it does look incredible. Plus, the fight scenes in Spider-Man 3 still hold up till today. You know, they even compete with some of Marvel's stuff that they've been doing now, like recently. So, you know, that's a good thing. Besides that, Spider-Man 3, it just too much. It ruined the whole Sam Raimi franchise. I really wanted to see Carnage come back because I heard in the 4th Spider-Man there was supposed to be, you know, Carnage and the Lizard, which would have been awesome. But of course, the 3rd one ruined that. I guess we'll see Can't wait to see Carnage on the big screen for sure, and a Venom done right. Now at number 3, we have The Amazing Spider-Man. This one was supposed to reboot the franchise and bring it into the new era, and what it ended up doing was kind of making everyone go, I don't know, was this good? Like, I think, I can't tell you how many people who actually watched this film and they didn't know whether they liked it or not. Now, of course, like I said earlier, the Sam Raimi films made the superhero genre what it is now. So when it comes down to it, a lot of people actually were a little burned by this, me included. They actually rebooted the franchise, considering I thought it was fine. Although, Spider-Man 3 was a little bit of a step back. But, things can change and they can write the next one even better. And, like I said, this Amazing Spider-Man was supposed to be Spider-Man 4 originally with Carnage and Lizard. So now they did bring the Lizard into that then. Of course, Carnage, we couldn't bring Carnage in that soon. I mean, that would be a waste of a perfect, awesome villain. But for right now, like I said, Amazing Spider-Man is at number 3. I mean, I said the exact same thing about The Amazing Spider-Man 2. The only good things about it, The Amazing Spider-Man is better, in my opinion, than The Amazing Spider-Man 2 and Spider-Man 3. And that's mostly because of the cast. There's not much else you could really defend about this film besides the fact that the cast was almost perfect. So we gotta give it to them. Now, you already knew what 2 films I was gonna put as number 2 and number 1, but which one am I actually gonna choose? For number 2, I'm going to pick the original Spider-Man. This one started it off. I said that a little bit earlier in the video, and I'm honest when I say it. This started everything. Of course, the X-Men at the same time. This movie showed that people like superheroes. You know what I mean? And when it comes down to it, without this movie, I honestly don't think we'd see the MCU at what it is, or anything. We wouldn't see Iron Man. Probably would still be a comic book. He wouldn't be on the big screen. Same with Captain America, the Hulk. Well, I mean, the Hulk might be, but who knows what would happen with him. We wouldn't see all this stuff if it wasn't for this film. The Green Goblin, I cannot remember his name right now. I really wish I could, but the villain in that, like, he was like so cartoonish, but it worked. That's perfect. He looked like a goblin. You know what I mean? Like, that actor literally looks like a goblin. Like, look at that face. He's mad ugly. But anyways, Spider-Man. Peter Parker, he was definitely, he played the Peter Parker so well. They say Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man wasn't nearly as effective because he wasn't as, humorous. He didn't make fun of his opponents as much, but I think that made him more real, because in real life, you wouldn't be a jerk. You know what I mean? In real life, you'd be trying to literally save the day while, holding on to the wings of an eagle as we all fly away. All the mid-90s kids will get that reference. I mean, the film, the casting, everything was pretty much fine. Kirsten Dunst wasn't scary yet. She was actually pretty cute in that first one, so that was pretty good. And I mean, what else can I say? I think a pretty good job finishing its own movie before pushing on to a sequel. That's one of the best things about Spider-Man 1 and Spider-Man 2. Although Spider-Man 2 did have a little bit of setup, it didn't focus on it. So that's why Spider-Man 1 is number 2 on this list. Now, at number 1, if you've seen a couple of my other videos, you already knew what Spider-Man 2 was going to be on this list, and it is at number 1 for me. Now, Spider-Man 2, I can't even begin to explain why it's the best. If you actually seen all 5 of them, you will know why it's the best. It's got the best villain, it's got the best character development, I mean, the best action, the train fight. I mean, you really cannot beat the train fight. I still don't think there's a superhero film yet that has truly been able to beat something like the train fight and the awesomeness that came with that. Now, one of the earlier things I was talking about, how the Amazing Spider-Man, what they really failed on doing, was they wanted to rush to get an MCU cinematic, or their own cinematic universe set up so quick that they forgot to finish their own film. Where this number 2, it finished its own film, but it also gave it a little nod towards the future, but it didn't focus on that nod. You know what I mean? That's the problem with a lot of newer films now, is they're like, well, you know what? We know you're going to watch this, so we're going to set up the sequel, and we're going to focus on that sequel. And now you're going to be looking toward the sequel, and you're not even done with this one yet. But this one's just to get you to watch the sequels, and that's the problem, because that's not how films should be made. You should be coming to a film to watch the current film, and it's okay to give a slight nod to the future, but you don't want to overdo it. And I feel like Spider-Man 2 is the perfect film because, well, the perfect Spider-Man film, because not only did it reach out to me as a kid, it still reached out to me now, and I'm now over 20. You know how that works. So how would you rank these 5 Spider-Man films? Let me know in the comments below. Remember to like and subscribe if you guys enjoy my videos. And until next time, guys, see ya.